Mr. President, I rise today on behalf of nearly 100,000 veterans that live in Montana. These are folks who have earned our deep respect and gratitude. I've traveled the state many times, listened to their ideas, and I've listened to their concerns. And Montana's veterans have not been shy about expressing their views. What I have heard is this: there is no doubt that we must hold the VA accountable, work to improve access to health care, jobs, education, transportation, and housing for veterans. And that is why it is critically important that we are taking our marching orders from veterans and the advocacy organizations that are led by veterans, because we know that their top priority is to do right by the folks who they serve. Veterans in Montana also tell me that when it comes to solving the problems facing veterans, they expect folks in Washington, D.C. to check their politics at the door and to go to work. Unfortunately, there are groups out there who are funded by dark money. They hide their out-of-touch political agenda behind the veil of our nation's veterans. As the incoming ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, I have serious concerns about who President-elect Trump is listening to when it comes to honoring our veterans and this nation's commitment to those who have worn the uniform. That is why it is so troubling that recent news reports have indicated that the Trump administration is relying heavily on guidance from Concerned Veterans for America. Now, Concerned Veterans for America is a political advocacy group funded by the Koch brothers who want to dump unlimited amounts of dark money to push dangerous policies that would privatize the VA or to convert the Veterans Health Administration into an independent, government-chartered nonprofit corporation. CVA also wants to divert funds away from the VA and cripple its ability to plan for long-term, to recruit doctors and nurses, and to invest in the information technology that can improve veterans' experience at the VA. These cuts will undermine the quality of care at the VA. Now, there's nothing wrong with helping veterans get specialty care in the community in a timely fashion when the VA can't do it. And that often happens in rural communities. But CVA's push for wholesale dismantling of the VA is not what we want, and that's not what the veterans need. We need to talk to the veterans that I've spoken to, and this is what we'll see. When folks volunteer to serve in the armed forces, this nation is indebted to them, and we must ensure that we deliver on those promises that are made. Privatizing the VA will fail our veterans and their families. It will reduce the quality of care that our veterans receive, and it will be more expensive for taxpayers. Privatizing the VA will ultimately mean that veterans will wait longer for doctor's appointments and the cost of care will go up. All we have to do is take a look at the Veterans Choice Program, which allows veterans to access care at private facilities. It has resulted in longer wait times, and this is unacceptable. Under this program, veterans are actually waiting longer to see doctors. Hospitals are increasingly frustrated and refusing to see veterans, and costs are going through the roof. Imagine this program on steroids. That's what the CVA wants to do, all while starving the VA's existing workforce and infrastructure. In fact, what CVA is pushing for is similar to what Speaker Ryan wants to do with Medicare. And we have seen the backlash of that proposal by seniors across this nation. The same is true with the veterans and proposals to privatize the VA. It is simply bad policy. Groups like the VFW, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and many others oppose privatization, and they oppose it for good reason. The American Legion's National Commander Dale Barnett said it best: the private sector didn't send our heroes to war, Uncle Sam did. Barnett is right. The federal government has an obligation to honor those incredible sacrifices, and when we shirk that responsibility, it dishonors those brave men and women. We need to listen to the Legion and countless other veterans groups whose mission is to help the veterans, not unravel the VA. Veteran service organizations are very different and have a very different mission and tax structure than concerned Veterans for America. The first being that VSOs take their cues from the veterans that they represent, not billionaire political activists who fund their operation. Groups like the Legion, the VFW, and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America are organized as nonprofit groups whose missions are simply to help veterans. Concerned Veterans for America is an issue advocacy group with a political mission. VSOs disclose their donors. CVA doesn't have to. And yet CVA has incredible influence and the ear of the president-elect. This is deeply concerning to me, and more importantly, it's deeply concerning to the veterans across this nation. I talk to veterans every week when I'm home in Montana. They universally tell me that they like the care that they receive from the VA once they get in the door. The problem is getting in the door. They don't want to see a private doc. They want to be seen by a VA doc. They know that the VA understands their unique issues. They know that doctors and nurses at the VA are attentive to the wounds of war. My hope is that President-elect Donald Trump starts talking to the folks who want to help veterans and not to organizations with a political agenda. My hope is that we will work with Chairman Isaacson and I and countless other reputable veterans groups to hold the VA accountable while increasing access to care. My hope is that we will work with Democrats, Republicans, independents to reform our campaign finance laws so that we can increase transparency and know who is trying to influence this government. My hope is that he will put veterans first as he chooses the next VA secretary. I remain hopeful that we can find common ground to work together to hold the VA accountable, to improve care, and to ensure that we're all delivering for veterans. When our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters are sent to war, we make promises to them, promises that we must keep. When they come home, they are changed people, and we cannot expect the private sector to address the seen and unseen wounds of war. In this upcoming Congress, there are incredible opportunities to make progress, and I am fully committed to Montana's veterans and veterans across this country and their families, and I will push back against those who attempt to undermine the noble mission of the Veterans Administration. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.